Eduardo Rodriguez, he didn't pitch at all. But we saw Freddie Freeman win the MVP. Of course, I'm only giving you 2 points of data, but maybe you have a better understanding as to, is there a difference between pitchers and hitters for COVID?
It's a difference between person to person, let alone pitchers to hitters. People get this virus differently. It reacts to them differently. People are getting the vaccines now. People are reacting differently to the vaccines. This is such an unknown that when it comes to pitchers or hitters reacting differently, it's a matter of the person. It's a matter of their background, of their nationality. It's a whole. You're opening a whole different bowl of wax when you're saying comparing pitchers to hitters. It has to do with their actual bodies as opposed to whether they're pitchers or hitters.
Okay, Nick, you know, other thought?
Yeah, the time frame is different too, and the fact that the pitchers need, they need to actually be pitching to be able to pitch, as opposed to a hitter.
Right.
Not to say that they don't have to have any rehab or anything like that, but yeah, a lot of times you can just kind of be like, all right, go back in there after a couple of days, and they're back to normal, And a pitcher, no, you see, great example again, John Means, who got interrupted, had COVID, started late, a tragedy happened, his father passed away, and then had to ramp up again. We literally didn't see Means actually stretched out to be a pitcher until the last couple starts of the year. That was it. And, missing time is like COVID is a good reason why a lot of these guys miss time. I think it does affect the timelines of pitchers more so than it does those hitters.
All right, so I think that both of what you guys have said is correct. So it does affect the pitchers, but the reason is not because of the COVID; it's because of the timeline more than anything else. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay. Next pitcher is Eduardo Rodriguez, who ATC sees as another pretty good bargain here. He's somebody that look at his rotisserie values last couple of years. $4, $6, $11, and of course didn't pitch last year. He had 200-plus innings in 2019 with 213 strikeouts. He's somebody that I really want to see what's going on in spring training, just to give me the feeling that, okay, this looks like Eduardo Rodriguez, right? But look at his career. I mean, the last two years that he pitched, ERA 3.8, 3.82, 3.81. He's a guy who has a 25% strikeout rate for his career. He had a 50% ground ball rate in 2019. And I think what's going on is in the market, you are getting a nice bargain because of the uncertainty of pitching, right? I mean, if he pitched even 3 innings last year, he probably would be going for a higher price. But the fact that you're getting uncertainty might allow you to get in for a discount over here. Now, to check the interprojectional metrics, standard deviation 2.8 means projections are very tight. Projections are pretty much in agreement that he's good, and he's got a negative half skew, which means that even with the projections, there's some outlandish thing low. Most of the projections actually point up to him. So this is somebody that the numbers seem to me is someone you can get, that you're getting the discount because he didn't pitch. I don't see much downside here. He's now had time to rest, and the question is he fully healthy? And if he is, I think he's a fine guy to get. I'll go to Ruvain first on him because it's an injury issue.
Yeah, I think the best comparison to him would be Cookie Carrasco. He had the issue with cancer, and it wasn't a pitching injury, just like Eduardo Rodriguez. It's not a physical pitching injury. So it's a matter of how they're able to build up the stamina and come back and like that. So I have no doubt that they would not let him pitch unless he was 100% ready and he felt 100% ready to go through the daily grind of going through everything. So with that in mind, and with the Boston Red Sox manager already saying that he's going to be ready for opening day, you know what? I think he's a number one starter. Yes, Nate Eovaldi is questionably their number one starter, but I think he will be. This is going to be a bold prediction for this. I think he will be the Red Sox representative All-Star weekend.
Ooh, I like it. So I guess you like him there. Nick,
Yes.
do you agree with this assessment?
I mean, I hope he's not the number one in Boston, because that means he has to get the Rays the second time instead of another start against Baltimore. That would be better. But no, I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez to me is kind of startling in so many ways. The fact that his hit per 9 has throughout his entire career been a low of 8.26 and a high of 8.88. I mean, to be that consistent with hit per 9 is just so unheard of. And that's just kind of who Eduardo is, and it's frustrating. So if you remember in 2019, if you rostered Eduardo Rodriguez, there you were in the middle of August, August 10th, where Eduardo had a 4.31 ERA and a 1.37 WHIP. And you weren't holding him anymore. You weren't rostering him after those 4 months. It was too much to handle, but then 6 of his next 7 starts were amazing. And at the end of the year, it was a 3.81 ERA with a whip down 4 points to 1.33. And we look at it, they go, oh man, yeah, Eduardo, wow, yeah, that was his best ERA all of a sudden. That kind of back and forth is typical with Eduardo Rodriguez. It's why he's always hovering a 1.30 whip. It's why he's kind of dancing with his 4 ERA. It's his changeup. Like, his changeup can miss so many bats, and when he's able to get those swings on it in a given day, he's going to have a good one. It depends on his four-seamer or sinker, depends on which one he's feeling that day. But whichever one, if one is actually working, then he can set up that changeup. He doesn't have a solid third pitch, though. The slider/cutter, it does an okay job of stealing strikes. It doesn't miss bats, and it doesn't suppress contact well enough. So it's too volatile, and if it's volatility, I mean, I know this is a very black and white way of saying it and blunt, but if a guy's like volatile like this, you don't know which one's going to be the more beneficial half, the first or the second. And if it's the second, well, are you going to keep the faith after the first? I mean, he's such a... I don't really see a season where Eduardo puts it all together. And even throw in all of the concerns about his health. I mean, oh my God, terrifying. I hope he's okay. And, those questions of, all right, how much is he going to pitch now? I mean, all of that's just extra haze into this it just makes it more concerning to roster. So I get it, 5% strikeout rate for Eduardo consistently there, and you kind of know what you're getting. But man, he's one of those guys that can be a real headache in season.
I'm going to say 3 things. First of all, you're wrong about people dropping him and in 2019 because Ruben and I play in a 10-team league, and on the last game of the season, he pitched a pretty good outing, and we lost the league because he had 9 or 10 strikeouts.
Well,
so
but
we're aware of him.
But that was after his 6 to 7 start good streak. So if he was dropped, he was picked up again.
That could be, but I'm going to go with the damn that guy got me attitude.
Yeah, let us have that. Come on.
I'm so sorry.
The second thing I'm going to say is that ATC is projecting a nice bargain only with 150 innings pitched. He could be more. So the production per inning pitched is excellent, and you get the value of the replacement level on top of that. So I kind of like him more for that. And the third thing I'm going to say is, reminds me the way you describe him is Marco Gonzalez. Incredibly consistent.
Oh, man.
Half-half, but he always ends up getting somewhere in the middle for a good ratio, and he ends up pitching a lot of wins. He had 19 wins in 2019, 13 wins in 2018. This is Marco Gonzalez. Marco Gonzalez was a $20 pitcher last year. This is the kind of guy that he won't be great, but he'll end up getting the $10 value year in, year out, or at least high 7s, 8s, 9s. But what I'm saying is he's going in the 18th round. He's a lot better than an 18th round pitcher. He's not a number 7 starter on your club. He has the potential, and that's where he's going now. So for the price and everything, I'm okay with some of the inconsistencies. And of course, he might be one of the guys that you sit half the time. Maybe if you want to use him that way. I like him. I'm not worried about the inconsistency because I think he's a guy like Marco Gonzalez that he'll even out, and you'll be happy if you just stuck with him the whole year.
So 2 quick points here. First of all, Marco Gonzalez, do not get me started on Marco Gonzalez, but I do recognize 15-teamers. Marco Gonzalez certainly is valuable. I would say in a 12-teamer, guy that's probably going to hover like a 4 ERA and a questionable whip isn't necessarily something that you want to go and get. You can kind of find it through the year on the waiver wire, but all right, there's a chance that Marco Gonzalez is somehow able to repeat 2020. So, okay, I get that part. The other thing is you have him projected, let's say, 150 innings, right? 152. This is something I talked a lot about last year. If you noticed, I have a lot of terms for things because I like terms. I think they're fun, and there's a lot of different mindsets you have, and one is, well, what we call a hipster. a headache-inducing pitcher that stifles the entire roster. And what they do is, I was saying this for Lance McCullers last year. Well, Lance McCullers, we only projected 140 innings or so because he was coming off of Tommy John. When is he getting them? Is it going to be 4 months straight and then they shut down Eduardo Rodriguez? Probably not, right? It's going to be the entire year, but maybe it's a skip start over here, or he's getting pulled after 5 innings instead of going off to 6 or so on. And you have to. I noticed you mentioned like a replacement player. Are you going to get a replacement player? Because you might have to hold him through the full year to get that 150.
But again, it's about the understanding of projections, how they're formed. I think that the 152 is not because you think he's going to be start here, miss a start here. I think it's just more the binary. Is he going to pitch or is he not going to pitch? We don't know it, so we'll just project something in the middle. It's different than Kershaw, who's going to get hurt at a certain point, and he will come back, and you'll get that there. I think it's just a question of Rodriguez, is he going to have it or not, and projections are just conservative.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how many innings I project for Eduardo. I can see the Red Sox being careful to some degree after his health concerns and the fact that, we talk about guys opting out in 2020, but thinking that they're still practicing and everything. Eduardo wasn't. Eduardo was recovering. So I wonder if has the stamina to go very long. I legitimately have no idea how many innings I'm projecting or envisioning for Eduardo.
Again, you got to check spring training for him. To me,
sure. Great point.
and you'll know right away. You'll know right away if it's working or not. I think with him. But here's the chance to get in at a potential bargain here. And it's the 17th round. It's not the end of the world if you had to cut him. How about this guy Ryan Yarbrough? We talked about earlier why we picking Rays, but he comes out as a nice, small $2-3-ish bargain here, according to ATC. My problem with him is that he averages less than 5 innings per start, but I could have just said he's on the Rays, and you would know that. You cannot count on wins. He happened to have gotten 16 wins in 2018. That's interesting. His strikeouts are 7 K per 9 is 20% strikeout rate, which is interesting because his swinging strike rate is somewhere between 10 and 13% over the last couple of years, so you would think he would have more strikeouts. Now, he has a pretty good ground ball rate. We're talking over 40% ground ball rate and a low walk rate. So maybe it's possible that he likes to induce contact, so instead of putting the put-away pitch, his put-away pitch is to induce an out, and that's how he's successful. I'll let you talk to that, Nick, but I like him as a pitcher. He's a great stabilizer of ratios. You'll get something for I'm projecting 423, but he's shown every year to be even better than that. Whip pretty decent, 1-2 or so. He's going 17th round. I think his profile is somewhat like Sean Manaea's, and again, I'm one of those guys who like the ratios, who like the stability of his projection. And, when you put together Yarbrough, Manaea, you put together Eduardo Rodriguez, who's going about the same round, maybe Urquidy is going a little bit earlier, but close, you have what we call in the show a hot spot, where there's 5-6 pitchers around the same round late-ish, that it's not about taking somebody at that spot. You're going to get somebody even a round or two later. So just be aware of the pocket of undervalued players in the spot. You may not get any one of them. Maybe somebody loves Jose Urquidy, somebody loves Andrew Heaney, but again, it's an ADP. So if 3 people are higher, that means 3 people are going to have to be even lower, and that means even a bigger bargain. So I like Ryan Yarbrough for the ratios. I don't need that strikeout guy. I don't need the Chris Archer type. That's how I like to play. Let's go to Nick first. What do you think first about the fact that his swing strike rate is high, but his strikeout rate is low? Is my explanation correct in your mind?
I mean, I think it's because it was 56 innings. And Yarbrough has unfortunately not been. I mean, I think this is finally the year that the Rays say, okay, fine, you get to start all the time. No more of this opener stuff. Like, you get to start. I'm crossing my fingers as I say that, but they need someone else outside of Glasnow to do that, right? Please let it be the Fratty Pirate. Please let Yarbrough do that.
The Fratty Pirate.
I think he's kind of like Kyle Hendricks in some ways, of a potential to go 6-7. There was actually a stretch. It's kind of funny to me. It's so Rays. He had 4 starts in a row in 2019 that were at least 6 innings. 2 of them were 7. But of course, after the first one of like 7.1 innings, he then came in relief for 3.2 until he went and did the other ones again because he's a part of the Rays